Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome back to the Writing Community Chat Show. We apologise for being a couple of minutes late. As we, started season 3, we mean to finish season 3 in exactly the same way. Often late and have excuses for poor whatever. Hello to you all, and I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas and a little break that's been happening. I know I've, considering what's been going on, I've had a pretty good time. I've eaten way too much stuff. What about you, Chris Hooley? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. This is why I'm trying to position the camera so it's sort of head on rather than belly down. Because I've eaten way too much stuff also.
Yeah, that is true. We are live for this show, and if you want to ask us questions, please do so, because we have a guest coming on from the world of YouTube that is, it's going to be very interesting. His goal is to find the right way to write and publish his first fiction novel. So you guys might have a lot of tips for him, and he might have a lot of answers for you, because he has interviewed a few fantastic guests, some of which have been on our show before. So hello to you all, and it's fantastic to have a show back on. Just to say hello.
So he's trying to get it right first time. So he's definitely come to the right place for things not to do.
It is. It's fantastic, because there's so many people that write a book and they're kind of clueless, just like myself, that go out and think, I'll just do this, and maybe as a hobby, or maybe as something that I'm going to learn a lot of and plan for a long, long time, and perhaps never even step into that world. Well, this is a kind of really unique way of doing that. And his channel is only a couple of months old. I think it's maybe 5 months old, but it's already got as many subscribers as our channel does, which is fantastic.
Of course he has.
Yes, he is definitely doing better. But what I love seeing is that he doesn't just get a guest on like we do and talk about their backstory and go into a real personal interview, which is fantastic, is what we do. But in terms of his goal, he actually gets the best bits from those and answers the questions that we actually have to answer. So what we'll do is we'll get the introduction done as normal, and then we'll introduce the guest on the show. So give us a couple of minutes and we'll do that. Be a book. I haven't said it for a while, Chris. Be a token book promotion, of course. Always start the show. Today is greetings. Hello to you on the chat. So Teresa Sargent, if you see across the bottom of the screen now, A Symphony of Silence, Poetry and Other Thoughts. And it's been described as compelling, raw, and emotionally charged. There are only 3 ways of describing this unique collection of poetry, and it's a pre-order. So this is out on the 4th of January this year, which is not very far away. Not this year, next year. We're still in December of 2020, which is hard to believe. But that'll be out very soon, and I'll just put a big picture up there, and it's got A Symphony of Silence written across the front of it in a park bench. So please have a look at that, and I will pop that up on the screen very shortly.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got great early feedback, so I think that'll be a good thing, especially if you're into your poetry. Certainly check that out. Cool. So let's get on with the guest. I will get that up there, Chris, very shortly. I just need to remember how to do that, because I seem to have misplaced it. Started well. So today's guest, as we described, YouTuber, on a quest to get all the answers before we start and go down the right way, which is a fantastic thing to do. So let me introduce to you Marcus from the Idiot on the Writer's Block. Hello, Marcus. Who has no sound. Marcus, you have no sound. You might be on mute.
That would be because I'm on mute.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well. If you knew me personally, you'd know how disorganized I am with everything. So literally, my plan was before this meeting. I've been waiting to do this particular session with yourselves, and I was planning all week. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get everything ready. I'll get my laptop ready. I'll get my lights and my sound and everything ready. And I figured, okay, good. I even shaved. I even shaved for you guys. That's that's how much effort I put into this session today.
You still got a beard, so you're making me question where you've shaved.
Well, I've got to keep this, but I had to shave this bit, and and that bit, just to trim this a little bit, because obviously I have to keep some people happy. Otherwise, things would happen for me. But then technical issues and everything scrambling for us. But everything is now ready. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris, for having me on your wonderful, wonderful show. I'm Marcus. I'm the idiot on the writer's block.
Well, that's fantastic, Marcus. And we know the struggle. We were literally having a big debate moments ago about my sound, which is all over the shop. And I turned up late. I should have been more prepared. And that's a lesson for us all, I think. But fantastic. And yeah, looking good with the shave. I wish I had shaved a bit better.
Oh, no, you're looking fine. You're looking good. You're looking good. Sorry.
So we kind of introduced very briefly at the start of the show when we were doing the introductions that you have a YouTube channel and it's been going for maybe around 5 months now. And it's a fantastic concept. Oh, go on. Is it more than that?
That's fine. Absolutely. Yeah, I can talk about the concept if you want.
So, it's fantastic.
So thank you for saying that. To be honest, I didn't really know if it was gonna be anything as interesting, interesting for other people to listen to. So the whole thing started off with basically me. I started off as a filmmaker. I wanted to move from short films into feature films, and like loads of people, 2020 was going to be my year. I had 2 films that were ready to go into production. I had one which was ready to go into production, the other which was still in the development stage, and it was more fantasy and sort of big budget, etc. So the plan was 2020, I was going to go to Cannes. I got my accreditation and everything sorted out, even got a nice little flat and right like a few minutes away from the Croisette that I was going to go, and I was going to get my taught psychological drama, psychological thriller, ready, because I was going to be directing that one. And then the other one was I would get investment and everything else, get people interested in it. So it was going to be 2020, my year. And then something happened. I don't know if anybody has heard about it, but COVID happened. And Cannes got shut down. A whole bunch of stuff got shut down. My investors sort of said, yeah, we want to try and keep money so we can pay our bills and buy toilet roll, because obviously it's going out of fashion. So that kind of got parked. And I thought, okay, I need to do something creatively. Otherwise, I know me, I will shut down if I don't get a creative outlet for all the stuff that's going on in my head. Then I'm going to explode at some point. So I figured, you know what? I've always thought about writing a book, and I've always kept the book writing to, last, because I've done the acting thing, I've done the radio thing, I've done the film thing. And I've always said, no, book writing, I can do that. It's very easy, right? I mean, it's very easy. You settle down, you write a novel, boom, easy. Then I realized I actually don't know how to write a novel. It's completely different. It's a completely different form, medium, right, from writing a script. A script is easy. You just basically say what you want people to do and visualize it, and that's fine. And I've been doing that for years. But writing a novel, I had no idea how to do it. So I did what any sane person would do. I went on YouTube to go and find out how to write a novel. While I was there, I was trying to research, what I need to do, how to structure the novel, how to write a story to make it fit the novel, fashion, and medium, etc. And I came across this YouTuber called Meg Latour, fantastic YouTuber. She has a YouTube channel called iWritely, where she basically talks about how to write your book, right? She has just released a novel called The Cyborg Tinkerer. It's a steampunk romance novel. So I was watching her video. I literally fell down that rabbit hole that is her channel, getting all the ideas as to what to actually do. And one episode, in fact, the very first one I watched of hers was talking about how to start promoting even before you start writing the novel. And the best way to do that these days is on YouTube, because obviously everyone is stuck at home. Nobody's going out. So everybody's going onto YouTube to watch how to do stuff. So I figured, okay, how about I set up a YouTube channel? But I had no idea what YouTube channel to set up, what idea I would do, right? Because for one, I don't know how to write a novel. And that's when the idea kind of struck me. I was like, look, I'm an idiot, right? When it comes to anything, I'm a total idiot. So how about this idiot goes and tries to learn from other experts how to write a novel and put all of those tips and practices into getting my own novel done? Mm-hmm. And that's basically how the channel started. I just basically got some cameras, got some lights and whatnot, and just sat down in my room and started recording videos where I talked to a lot of people, Meg Latour, including, she was one of the first people to come on the channel. So I asked her, Courttia Newland, Iranosen Okojie, Sasha Black, Michael Laurent, a whole bunch. That was another thing as well. When I started out, I thought, nobody's going to want to talk to me because, again, I'm an idiot, right? So but the number of people that said, yeah, I've got a book coming out, I've done this for years, I can give you some tips, and they would spend an hour and a half. Some people, Courtney Price, brilliant literary agent, she did 2 videos with me, each of them lasting about 2 hours long. So what I just decided to do was take all of their advice, and basically each video would be and I heard you describe it earlier on, and you described it perfectly. I take each question I want to ask, and I pick a number of different experts and basically say, right, what is your response to this question? And I put it as like a talking head. So I give the reason why I'm asking the question. I have their responses, and I put at the end whether or not I want to use their advice or not, and then go from there. And that's basically how the channel came about. It's been about 5 months. Wow, 5 months. That's long time. Yes, 5 months, and I've just crossed the 100 subscriber mark, which I'm really, really excited about, because I know it's nothing compared to other people are looking like thousands of, like, come and talk to me when you have 5,000, 10,000 people watching your videos. But for me, in 5 months, having 100 people hitting that button saying, yeah, your content is interesting to while away the time, means so much to me, because I didn't expect to be here at this point. I pretty much anticipated having just my family and friends subscribing by this point, and then slowly watching that number dwindle down as some of my family said, okay, look, we supported you after the first 5 videos, but we can barely keep up with you now, and we've got better stuff to do. But no, 115 people have said yes, that they want to watch my videos, and now I'm talking to you guys. This is big time for me. So
well, do you know what? I went down the rabbit hole that you went down, just the same way. How do I write a book? And all the same avenues. And the writing community was the exact reason why this show happened. So I understand that process. So as someone that actually was in a creative world, that was doing other creative avenues, you mentioned that that's why you went on to writing. But your script writing is it is a lot more direct than novel writing. So did you attempt to write at all before you jumped down that rabbit hole, or was there a moment of, oh, this is completely different, I must go and look, or was there just, I need the advice first?
Well, it was kind of a bit of both. So I go through cycles, right? And I'm sure you and everybody else who is watching this channel and watching these videos has gone through this before, where you'll do like 3 months where there's one thing that you're really passionate about that you want to do, and you dive into it. And then maybe you hit that 3-4 month wall and you think, I'll park this and I'll come back to it. So in the past, I'd been doing that with novels as well. So I started writing a couple of novels, and then I thought, maybe it's not exactly, it's not right yet. I haven't fully fleshed out the idea. I want to go back to something else. So the thing I always went back to was writing scripts, because it's where I wanted to get towards. Because I started off as an actor, and then I wanted to get parts so I can be in them. So I started writing, and then I kind of fell into that. And so I started doing that over and over again. There was even a project I started about 15 years ago. Wow, that was a long time ago. Where it was basically a collection of short stories, because I then realized that obviously I didn't have that discipline back then to settle down and write an entire novel, but I did short stories. So I figured, okay, I'll do the incoherent, and I've started this, I haven't finished it yet, is the incoherent ramblings of an idiot, which is basically me. This was 15 years ago, which was going to be 98 short stories I was going to put together. And they would range from a story which was 1 sentence long, I finished that one, to another short story which was probably about maybe 100 pages, and so on and so forth. So I've gotten to about 25. That was about 10 years ago, and I stopped that project. I parked it. I said, I'll come back to it eventually. Let me carry on with the film stuff. So in the past, before this year, I had dabbled in writing novels, but my drawers and my hard drives are filled with sort of half-written, not even half, quarter-written novels that have just been, scattered around. I haven't finished. I have an idea to how it ends. I just don't know how to get through it. So this year, when I decided to dive into the novel writing thing, what I figured I'd do is I took one of my script ideas. Funnily enough, one of the ones I was going to take to Cannes with me, the one I was going to, the fantasy one, because it was supposed to be it's an action adventure fantasy. I took that idea and I said, okay, this is a script that I don't have the budget or resources to be able to make as a film by myself. But obviously, it's fantastical. It's grandiose enough to be able to put as a book. So I figured I'd use that as a template. I've already written out the script. I might as well just take that and convert it into a novel and flesh it out. Just as you said, Chris, writing a script, all you're doing is giving directions as to what you want your actors to do. You don't need to talk about motivations. You don't need to talk about, what the character is thinking. In fact, that's what they tell you not to do when you're writing scripts. If you can't show it on screen, you don't need to describe it. So, and obviously when you're describing scenery, again, in a script, you're not going to say something like the air was it smelled like lilac back when my mother made porridge when I was in it. You don't do that in scripts, right? Because if you do that in a script, that will immediately get your script tossed. So that's kind of the discipline I went down. So because I had written that script, I now took that and said, okay, let me learn how to convert that story into a novel. And it didn't change drastically because novels and films pretty much follow the same sort of story arcs, etc. It's just basically changing it to match that new medium, which I'm now following. And that's basically how I decided. I jumped into that. So the first book that I'm writing is this middle grade fiction, and it came down. I'll explain why in a second. It changed because I'm writing it as a novel, having gotten advice from various experts for this particular project. It then morphed into something slightly different from what it was before. Now that it's a novel.
It's fantastic. It really is. Looking back, that obviously your time as an actor inspired you to get on this creative sort of runway. Was there anything before that point when you were younger that really inspired you? Was like TV or film that was really, or books, in fact, that were really your sort of driving force behind that?
Yeah. Okay. Before I answer that question, let me ask this question. How long do we have?
We normally go for an hour or ish or plus. So.
Okay, I'll do my best to keep my answers as concise as I do another radio show called Shoot the Breeze, which is about films. Chris, CJ, I know you do film reviews, and I'd love to ask you questions about that. We'll talk about that maybe off air, but that's something else. And anyway, so my answers tend to be hours long, so I will do my best to keep them as concise as possible.
You just do you, Marcus. Don't worry about it.
You don't want that. We'll be here for like 3 hours, and I'll be answering your third question. So, okay, let me answer your question now. Try and be as concise. As every work evaluation I have, Mark is okay, but he needs to be concise. So I'm going to try and be as concise as I can be. So your question was, what got me onto the acting, the creative trail when I was younger? So when I was younger, and I remember this crystal clear, I first wanted to become a soldier. When I was about 5, 6, I was like, I want to be a soldier. I'd watched movies such as Commando, Predator. I'd seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like, look, that's what I want to do. I want to Rambo. Oof. I was like, yes, I want to grab a gun. I want to go into war. I want to shoot people, and so on and so forth. Then I realized that people shoot back, and I don't want to get shot. So I was like, okay, maybe not soldier. Then because I'm raised Catholic, I still am Catholic. I was like, you know what? I want to become a priest, right? So I want to go and I want to preach the word of God. I want to talk to people and tell them about the Bible and so on and so forth. And then somebody told me, and this is around when I was 12, 13, someone told me that priests are celibate and can't get married. And I had hit puberty at that point, and there was no way I was going to be celibate. So I figured that's not for me. Then I moved on to, I was trying to figure out what else did I want to do with my life. And then I wanted to become a geologist because I'd seen it in a movie. And, the realization hit me around 13, 14, that a lot of these things that I wanted to do was because I was seeing other people act them out. And I was like, well, that would be great if I could act them out. But, that doesn't pay the bills. I grew up in Nigeria. I was born and raised, my dad is Nigerian. So I was born and raised in Nigeria. And I started off in this improv group as an improv comedian. So I started off in that avenue. I was like, that's great, but that doesn't pay the bills. Then I came to the UK. My mother's English, half Italian. Came to the UK with my mother. And in 1997, I'm very specific with this. I saw an episode of a show called Moesha. Now, if you don't know Moesha, it's a sitcom with singer Brandy Norwood. And she, it's about her and whatnot. And I watched this and I was like, hold on, she's a singer. Why is she acting? And the light bulb moment clicked in my head. You can you can make a career as an actor. If she can do it, then I can do it. And I was like, that, not to say she's not, she might listen to this. Brandy is okay. So I decided that's what I wanted to go, because of all the other jobs and careers that I wanted to follow was because I'd seen them on TV, I'd seen them in movies, I'd seen people act them out. That's what made me want to do that. So maybe I just go directly to the source and act out all those careers. And that has been the one career path that has stuck with me since 1997, well, 95 when I started acting, right through. So I was like, you know what? That's exactly what I want to do. And that's where it's pretty much started me off.
It's amazing. Connor says, I remember Moesha, was it? Moesha?
Moesha, yes. It was
it's
a good show. Yeah.
And Anya says, that's hilarious about the dream jobs. When I was 6, I wanted to be a mermaid. That didn't work out.
Yeah. What was the problem? Why couldn't you become a mermaid? Let us know why you couldn't become a mermaid. Just asking. Just because you hear people say, you dream big, try and get your dream. So I want to know what was the problem. Why couldn't you, become a mermaid? Because that might be something that I might want to find out, just in case.
There's always acting. I said there's always acting for mermaids. Yeah, mermaids are epic.
That's true.
Becoming a mermaid is always a bit fishy.
I want to ask both of you a question, because I'm kind of using this as an opportunity to basically, like I said, my own channel, Idiot on the Writer's Block, right? So I want to ask experts, CJ and Chris Hooley, I want to ask both of you questions as well. If you don't mind, I'm going to hijack your show and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. One question I want to ask, right? And it's kind of, again, it's helping me out because it like I told you, the project I'm working on, the book that I'm writing at the moment, it's called Atticus the Mighty. Now, it's been described by Kelly Patterson, who's a brilliant literary agent on my show. She described it as a contemporary fantasy with a huge emphasis on adventure. So, we can go into details a little bit later. But while I'm doing that, there was another project that sort of came up, which is a graphic novel. And this is a graphic novel I'm working on, which, again, we're going to try and get that out next year as well. And that one is violent. It's got swearing, it's got blood, it's got sex, it's got everything in there, right? So the two of them, you've got middle grade fantasy with little to no sex. And then you've got the violent graphic novel crime noir project as well. Now, you have one author working on both. People are talking about, you shouldn't be crossing genres. I'd like to ask you two experts, what should I be worried about with regards to having different genres as one author?
Go on, Chris. You can start this one off.
For me, I think, obviously, when you start out as an author, you get a bit of a fan base behind you. And I've seen this as well with other authors that I've read and enjoyed. You kind of get tailored and known for doing one particular genre. So when you switch, your audience is already pre-existing, and they can be a bit skeptical, I think. Like Steve Kavanagh, for example, we had him on the show. He very much writes crime fiction. So if he brought out a romance novel, some people might be put off by that because he's known for his crime and he's good at that. So I think that would probably be the only thing I'd be concerned about, is the readership that you've already worked hard to build. You could lose, or they might not enjoy it as much as you think they would. I think some people do it because for example, I love reading romance novels. I'll admit that, it's fine. But I don't know if I could actually write one. So like novels like One Day and stuff like that come to mind. I think they're brilliant novels, and when I've read them, I've enjoyed them, but I don't think I could ever try my hand at one, despite the fact that I enjoy them.
Yeah, I think for me, very similar response in terms of confusing your readers, but also I'm someone who is kind of new in the game as writing, as a lot of us are indie authors that listen and watch this show, that you're still trying to find your feet. So often I do have tendencies to want to write different genres. I'm more horror based, but sometimes I want to go off in the crime thriller just to sort of pay homage to sort of these little urges in my body that tell me to write this. So I've gone through this concept and thought process of how do I write in different genres? If I'm going to, how do I deal with that? And for me, that was the biggest hurdle I came up with, what Chris just mentioned. But there's also a lot of people that have done this, and we've had plenty of people on the show that have done this. And it seems the answer for that could often be having a pen name or a pseudonym, because there are people that have come on the show who have been nutrition writers and then gone into sort of romance or fiction horror. There's definitely crossovers in there. So I think it's perfectly fine to do if you're ready to accept the fact it may confuse your readers if you stick with the same name, or if it doesn't, why not go off and look for a different name? And I think that's kind of a cool thing, because once you become a pen name, you can be anyone you want. And that is a really cool thing and a very powerful tool. So perhaps, look at it and maybe worth doing.
Fantastic advice from both of you. Thank you for that. I'm happy to hand it back to yourselves so you can ask questions, and then I've got my other questions I'll ask later on. So
Marcus, the question that I had, I think that was cropping up in my mind is, obviously you sold us this dream and this passion that you had for becoming an actor. When did you suddenly decide, do you know what, I'm going to write a novel? And why is it so important to you to write a novel? Like, I can see clearly your passion for film and see your passion for acting. However, writing a novel, like you said, it's very different. Being an actor is being on stage, being a center of attention. Being a director, I should imagine, is quite focused in terms of, your center stage, you're there. But being an author is very secluded, very, obviously, other than doing this, it's very unique. It's you sat at the keyboard typing away on your own. There's not necessarily a load of people around you. It's not a big show and tell until a book actually comes out, and by that point you're bricking it to thinking if anyone's actually going to enjoy what you spent so long writing. So how did that come about?
Very, very good question. And you're right with how you described my creativity path. At the very baseline, I'm an actor. I'm a performer through and through. If I were to get rid of every other outlet, one thing that I would stick with would be the performance side. The reason why writing the novel came about, or as part of it, was because I like telling stories, whether it's through performance, whether it's through video, whether it's through music, graphic novels, etc. I love telling stories. And I guess the reason why I now channeled my efforts towards the writing of a novel is because of the pandemic. The pandemic basically shut down every other avenue that I could use. With the acting side of things, you're having theater actors, you're having film actors not being able to perform because of the restrictions that have been put on them. Like I said, the film that I was working on, I couldn't do that anymore. My crew basically said, yeah, we could try and work around the COVID restrictions and everything else, but that would add more strain on the production itself, which was supposed to be a quick, fast, very quick project to get done and, pushed out. So the reason why I now dived directly into writing a novel was because I don't know how long COVID is going to last. I don't know how long the restrictions are going to last. I mean, we're in the UK, I'm in a region where we've just gone into tier 4. Who knows, by this time next year, there might be tier 15, which means that I have to isolate myself in my bedroom, which my wife will probably be happy with that. But, that means I can't really do much. It'll then help the writing process, because then I'm just there in my own little cubicle and I can type away the story if I need to. So that was kind of why I decided to use that as an opportunity. I said, look, I can't do a performance. I can probably do a YouTube channel show if I wanted to. I could do that. But that didn't really interest me, because at that point I don't know, maybe if I had waited a few more months, that would have clicked in. But it didn't really interest me in that manner. Writing a novel was the bit that clicked in at that point. And I just said, right now, the situation it's everything. Circumstances are perfect for me to settle down and learn this aspect of creativity that I've always wanted to do, but I've always said, I don't have time for it because I've got this script I need to memorize. I've got this script I need to, type up. I've got this production meeting I need to go to. I need to go to a radio show and do that show and so on. So it's always been something I've put off. It was like the universe said to me, dude, sit down, write this novel. And I figured I might as well take that opportunity and do it. And as soon as I did that, I started meeting just brilliant people with pretty much just yourselves. I've been watching your show for the last few weeks now, and it's like it's a community I want to be part of. I've got the film community as well. I've got great friends I've made in that community, but now I've stepped into the writing community and I've met Cadis Knight. I mean, come on, you've had them on your show. Jacqueline Sylvester and NJ Simmons, brilliant ladies. Again, I sat down with them for an hour and a half just talking to them, and I could have taken them. I could have talked a lot longer, but I know that they have lives that they need to go to. Again, I'm not concise when I talk to people. So, that was a world that the more I learned more about it, the more I was pulled into it and the more I wanted to be part of it. So I know it's not a good thing to say, but one thing that was beneficial out of pandemic was me meeting more people in the writing community and getting to learn more about writing novels. And that's why I've just dived straight in.
It really is something that it was mentioned on the comments earlier about how the lockdown has actually produced a lot more creativity. And I believe that you just pointed on that the fact that so many people with creative habits, and it is a habit because as soon as you settle down as a creative, you start getting itchy. And there's something you want to do, whether it's performance or writing or creating something. So when the lockdown happened, there's been this massive change in the way that the world works in terms of creativity, in a good way, because people were stuck in their rooms, like you said, not able to go outside, so had to use what they had, whether it be writing or YouTube or whatever. So there's been so many more things that have become a reality because of this, including this show. So there are plenty of things that have blossomed because of COVID. So as much as we complain about it, and it is terrible and horrendous, but it has created this massive boost in. It's like a baby boom version of the war back in the day, but this is creative media version of a baby boom. So we've got that to be grateful for the COVID pandemic.
Speaking of baby booms, I'm wondering how many babies are going to come out of Corona. But
well, I guess in about 9 months, well, probably 5 months time will tell now.
So Marcus,
Yes.
What challenges have you actually faced, but from being a first-time writer of a novel and sitting down, there may be some people watching going, do you know what? Yeah, Marcus is really inspiring me here. I actually want to do this. I've always wanted to do it as well. But what actually challenges have you faced when you've actually come down to sit and start writing this novel? Have you developed a routine? Have you picked up any tips that you could pass along the way?
Absolutely. Again, that's the benefit of talking to experts, as my show is all about, because there are a lot of things that what I found from talking to a lot of experts and finding out that they've gone through the same process I've gone through was that they found the better way to do it. A lot of the projects I had to abandon was because I didn't have routines set in place to be able to sit down and get stuff done. And one of the things, Meg Latour, for example, she basically said, look, you're a family man, you have kids, you obviously have responsibilities outside of writing. So you need to find a time and set that time as basically being, okay, this time is when I'm going to sit down and do the work. Don't try and just snatch some time out of, whenever you're available to sit down and do work, because what will happen is you will never get that time back and something else will always come and steal it from you. Two, because you don't have that that sort of routine of always going back and doing that thing, then you're never going to have that sort of consistency whenever you're doing it. And thirdly, it makes it easier for you because you're planning when you're going to go and do it. So that tip, what she does is she has the mornings as basically her writing time. So she'll wake up at 5 a.m. and she will spend an hour writing. That is basically what she has to do for that day. The rest of the day, if she can steal 25 minutes somewhere to do a writing sprint, that's great. All of that is bonus. So for me, I love working in the mornings, but I know that if I get up in the morning and I start doing work, I'm going to wake up the kids, I'm going to wake up the wife, and that's not going to be productive for anybody. So I use the end of the day. So at the end of the day, when everyone's asleep, I jump in and I start doing my work. Now, I don't care for sleep that much. I mean, I enjoy sleep, but I can do without sleep. I used to I used to sacrifice sleep for watching videos and movies and all that stuff, and I can exist on 4 hours of sleep a day. It's not healthy at all. I don't recommend anybody do it, but I can do it because of practice. So what I do is I spend time with the family, and then about 10 p.m. when everybody is pretty much either drifting off or going to sleep, that's when I start doing my own stuff. And that's when I record my videos. I go downstairs when it's quiet, I record the videos, I bring them back up, and I edit and so on and so forth. And I'll stay up till about 2, maybe 2:30 a.m. when my wife yells at me to go back to bed. And that's when I just say, okay, it's good. I've got all that stuff done. So that's one key advice I would say to anybody who is interested in diving into this. Create a routine that is repeatable and you have that separate time when you can sit down, write without disturbance, without anybody bothering you, without you feeling guilty about having sacrificed time to do that. That's the one thing as well. It's the guilt, because if you're sitting there, as you said, Chris Hooley, you said it's basically you taking time away, right? You're settling down, which means you're not working on anything else. You're focusing on that. And because it's just you sitting at your desk, you might then begin to have that worry that pops in saying, I could be doing something else. There's always that negative thought that pops into your head that is what you're doing, because it's intangible at this moment, right? It hasn't gone out there. Nobody else has read it. It's just you typing it out. And obviously, you're both writers. You know what it's like. You write something, you read it in 15 minutes time, and you're like, what is this rubbish? I shouldn't do this anymore. I'm going to quit. I'm no longer a writer. And that's what, so you go through that. And then those negative thoughts pop into your head. There are better things you should be doing. You should be playing with your family. You should be going out and working, and so on and so forth. When you have that routine and you isolate some time in the day and say, this time is just for me to do this, you will get better rewards from it, and you can repeat it constantly. So that's one thing I definitely have done that has helped me completely. It's allowed me to structure getting the work done. And that works with both the writing and the YouTube channels.
So as a question for you then, Marcus, as someone who's new into writing, and this may be something that has changed, or it may be something that you started this way and is stuck with as to now, are you a plotter or pantser?
Very good question. And that's a question on the Idiot on the Writer's Block. I got like 15 different experts to pitch in. So am I a plotter or a pantser? I started off as a pantser. When I first started writing way back when, I started off as a pantser. I was like, I just sit there and I'll just type. And that's why I have tons of skeletons that didn't come out right. I have tons of unfinished, I do have skeletons, but we won't talk about that today. Tons of unfinished novels and scripts that are just sitting there that I haven't done because I just tried to pants my way through. And I'm not great at pantsing in that regards. I'll get to a point, I'll hit a wall, and I can't carry on, and I'm like, forget it. So I encountered Save the Cat, and there's Save the Cat and there's Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So two different books that follow the same sort of idea where you have plot points. And I got onto I can't remember who wrote the novel version, but it's sort of there's the novel version and there's the script writing version. So I got the script writing version to help me with my scripts. And after getting the 15 beat points in Save the Cat and using them with my script writing, I was as prolific as whatever. I was just basically pumping out scripts very, very quickly. And I started using that over and over again to be able to write more scripts, more bulletproof scripts, if you will, because I can hit every bend. I know which characters are coming. I don't get stuck in a situation where I hit that roadblock anymore. And so I started doing that. And then I carried that across into the writing aspect, into writing the novel aspect as well. And I plot. So I'm feet firmly within the plotting aspect. So my method, if you will, and again, I bring this from the script writing point of view, I'll have an idea. An idea comes from various places. It could be me talking to somebody. It could be a thought while I'm having a shower. And I'll take that one idea and I will say, okay, so this is the idea. Let's expand it a little bit. So that's the bit where I may pants a little bit when I'm planning it in my head. I get the beginning, the middle, and a nice couple of key scenes halfway through, and the end. So I get that trajectory as loosely as it is. Then I sit down and I get the 15 beat points, and I say, right, here is what I map that out. I was like, this is where this happens here, this is what happens here, and I plot all of that stuff out in that regards. And I think of maybe some extra cool scenes I can chuck into different places. And then when I sit down to start typing, I basically have all my structure. And then I could play a little bit with the dialogue here and there and so on. That might be a tiny little bit of pantsing within that aspect, but I've stuck with that particular plot and that structure. So that's why I say I'm a plotter through and through.
So Marcus, as someone who's very much a script writer and been involved in that business on for a number of years and an expert in that field, what have you found that's been the major difference between script writing and novel writing?
Okay, so script writing and novel writing, two main things in particular that I found are completely different. I'll ramble a little bit with the first one, and I'll come back to the second one. I mean, the first one is easy. It's basically description. So as I talked about earlier, when you're writing a script, you don't spend much time in the description aspect unless it is key, unless it's absolutely important that you want to have the lampshade being red. There's a specific reason why that lampshade has to be red. If there's no reason, if it could be beige and it doesn't affect the story, don't indicate that it's red. That's screenplay. You don't need to go into too much detail with that. The difference between that and novel writing, you could you could have a paragraph as to, how the fact that it is red reminds the protagonist of, the color of the dress that his or her lover wore the night that they walked out. And you can just spend that writing that bit. And while it might influence and build a little bit more on character, that means nothing when it comes to the screenplay. So that is the one fundamental difference between the two that I found. The fact that you don't get flowery and talk about simple and complex language and flowery prose, right? Purple prose, they call it, which again is something I learned writing novels. Purple prose. What the heck is purple prose? I didn't know about that until I spoke to a lot of people in the writing community. There's no such thing as purple prose in screenwriting. So that's one fundamental difference. It is efficient when you're writing your script. Because with the script as well, there's the rule that it's sort of one page, it represents 1 minute on screen. So you have to make sure that whatever is on that page is absolutely important. The novel, on the other hand, you could write a 500-page novel. You could write an 82-page novel. It doesn't matter as long as you get your story across the way you want it. So that was that fundamental difference. The other difference that I found, and again, this sort of affects the book that I'm writing. It's called Atticus the Mighty. So when I was doing it as a script, right, I had it as a script idea that when we were going to make it, the idea is about this sick boy who has a sleepover and his friends come over and they tell him a story. And the story is about an interdimensional Federation cop who recruits 3 hapless friends on an adventure to catch a deadly thief and stop a megalomaniacal warlord, right? Now, it's kind of the framework of, if you think of something like Princess Bride. So following that sort of framework. Now, with that particular script idea, I wrote a part in it. I was going to be one of the hapless friends, right? So older character and so on, because you can do that. It doesn't matter. You can write older characters however you want in your script. However, when I translated that into a book, one of the first pieces of advice that a lot of people gave me from the experts, they said, well, who is going to be watching or reading this book? Is it going to be young kids? Is it middle grade? Again, this is me now learning categories within novels, right? Middle grade, young adult, new adult, and adult, and so on and so forth. So I started to learn all of those and knowing that there are certain rules for each category. So I had to start learning all those rules, knowing that, okay, well, if I'm writing for middle grade, what type of middle grade? Is it lower middle grade, middle grade, or upper middle grade? If it's upper middle grade, then my reading audience is going to be between 10 and 12, which means that the heroes can't really be like 30-year-old people like myself, right, being in it. So now I had to then change that and age down those characters. Mm-hmm. So now the characters are about 15, 16, 17. And so I can't play that anymore, which is a shame. But when it gets adapted into a movie with Idris Elba as Atticus the Mighty, then I'm going to get my kid to play the character I was supposed to play, and then that'll be good. But that was, again, what I then learned, right? Because the categories are different compared to, from film compared to novels. So with those various categories, and I'm still learning more about, what tropes I have to follow for middle grade and what tropes I have to follow for fantasy, what tropes for horror, etc. Those are completely different when it comes to films compared to novels. And from what I understand, the readership are very, they're very picky about what it is. With film, you can be a little bit more elaborate. You can play around with novels. From what I found, that is not something you can play around with a lot, unless you are super famous, like Stephen King or George R.R. Martin, where you can just basically put whatever you want, and you already have hundreds of thousands of loyalists who will say, "I don't care, I'll take his picture book and I'll watch it, so no problem." So yeah, those are two main things that I've found are different from screenwriting compared to novel writing.
Do you think that everybody that writes sort of plays by those rules? Because there's bound to be a lot of people that just kind of write what they want to read. And that sounds maybe a bit cliche, but if you're doing that, then you're not really thinking about those categories, and perhaps that they may fit into a lot of different categories. And do you think that's an issue if you are fitting into multiple categories?
Well, two things. One, I'm an idiot, right? So there's that aspect. I'm an idiot. So as an idiot, I'm basically saying, I want to write what I want to read, right? I want to just jump in and do it. Hence the reason why I asked you the question about, middle grade and, a crime graphic noir novel. So that, I am an idiot. So I'm diving into this thinking I'm going to make as many mistakes. I'm going to ask experts as well, but I'm going to make those mistakes. So with regards to that question that you've asked, I really hope that the literary world allows idiots like me to be able to just try out new stuff and just say, look, I'm new to your industry. I'm going to write stuff that I like, and hopefully there's going to be a group of people that like it too. Now, from what I've heard from experts and what I've ascertained, it is yes, the industry will allow you to do that. There are writers who just say, you know what, I don't care about the rules. I'll write whatever I want. You could fall into one or two categories. You could fall into what is a very large chasm, and only you and your family and a couple of your friends will read your book. That's fine. But then you have the exceptions to the rule, right? Who will come out and do that. One person, E.L. James, doing the whole 50 Shades of Grey, she is an exception to the rule. Again, she's not somebody that you should base your career on, but she wrote what she wanted to write. And she started off as a blog, right? It was everybody knows this. It's a fan fiction take on the Twilight series. So she wrote that. A lot of people liked it, and then that's what then got her published as 50 Shades of Grey. So I guess that's how it works. So in answer to your question, I think, yes, you can just write what you want to read. You have to be prepared to have absolutely nobody want to read what you want. If you're prepared for that, go for it. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with throwing Atticus the Mighty out there when I finally get it done. I want to try and get it done before my next birthday next year. I'm prepared for the fact that nobody reads it. Obviously, I want people to read it when it comes out. Yeah. But I know that like I said, I'm the idiot who's just going to make those mistakes. And the reason why I'm willing to make those mistakes is because I'm going to learn from those mistakes. Yeah. If I write the first book, Atticus the Mighty is going to come out in 3 books. So if I write the first one and nobody reads it, I'm not too proud to say, okay, maybe I should listen to what some of my experts have said and tweak that a little bit and get people to read it, and so on. So yes, I plan to write what I like to read, which is why I'm doing both the middle grade thing and I'm doing the graphic novel. I'm going to take your advice as well, talking about the pen name thing. The thing about changing a pen name and managing a pen name, and I'm always worried about that, is having a different identity. And there's a lot going up in there for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to control having another name. Someone's going to call me M.E. Acko, and I'm going to be like, I don't know who you were talking about. And so I already have so many names already in my head. I don't want to do that. But I'm thinking maybe if I were to keep it separate in the sense where when it's graphic and there's like a lot of violence and swearing, I'll stick that to the graphic novel side of things, and that might work in that regards. And then the literary side of things, I will stick with the middle grade, maybe slightly young adult, and I'll grow in that regards and then see how it goes. But hey, I'm fresh in the industry. I'll see how it goes.
So Marcus, we've got a couple of Writing Community Chat Show sort of staple questions that we're going to throw to you.
Oh, please go. And I've got 2 questions I want to ask. Well, one, because I know we're running out of time, so I'll try and maybe 1 question. But yeah, go for it.
No worries. So the first one is, if you could take any novel and change the ending of that novel, which novel would that be and why? But because obviously your film director and actor will open it up to films and any sort of TV series. So basically, if you could change the ending to anything, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that is okay. I was going with books, and then you opened it up to movies. But you know what? I'll stick with books. I will stick with books. And what's the? Okay, I want to go with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was one of my favorite. It's my favorite book of all time. Actually, no. I take it back. Skepticism Inc. is the one I would take.
Glad you changed it there, Marcus, because
I I improvise a lot of stuff, right? And as soon as you asked that question, I was thinking Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I was like thinking, how? There's no way you would change that. It doesn't work. There's nothing you can come up with that is better than what Douglas Adams has written. But then I think Skepticism Inc., which is Bo Fowler, I think I'll offend fewer people with that one. So Skepticism Inc., I love that book because it's basically narrated by a talking a sentient shopping trolley, right? Now, the way I'd change the book is that not the shopping trolley, but the other protagonist, I spoil it, he dies. And it's the way he dies that basically I would change. I think it's still a great ending, but if I were to change it, I would change it where I wouldn't kill off that protagonist. I would have him because the way it starts off is he gets expelled from, I think, Oxford. It's been a long time since I've written it. He gets expelled from Oxford and he wanders into a church, and that's where I would do the whole kung fu, legend continues thing, and I'll just have him stripped of all his riches and have him wander into the wilderness, and you're basically, it's like a time bomb where you know that he's gonna come back somehow. That's how I'd change that.
It's interesting. I love a different theory to an end of a story. The other question sort of ties into that is if you could take any character, and again, this can stay open to film and TV and literature, any character at all, and then take that character, and there is two ways to deal with this, and either write what you want with that character, so put it into another story of your own, or, in fact, I'll throw it in there. So if you could take that character and do what you want with that character, what would you do,
Sure.
or what story would you put them in?
Okay.
Oh dear.
He's not going to appreciate that.
So am I still there? You can still hear me?
You're back.
Okay, good. Oh yeah, that's another thing that happens. My connections are terrible. Okay, so I'll repeat what I just said. I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna take your.
I was going to say we got a good look at your face.
It is as well. Anyway, I will jump into TV shows. Okay, so I'm gonna combine two TV shows. I'm gonna combine Firefly and The Mandalorian. The reason why I'm combining both of them is because they thematically kind of, setting is kind of similar. Firefly is smugglers in space, and then you have The Mandalorian, which is set in the Star Wars universe. I would merge those two shows together because Firefly is my favorite TV show of all time. And recently, after watching The Mandalorian, the second season, I put on Facebook, and we all know that whatever goes on Facebook is gospel. So I put on Facebook, okay, Mandalorian might be equal to Firefly. And I got a lot of flack from that, but I still agree. And those would be the two I would merge together. I would have a new show where obviously Mando and Grogu are still on the run from the New Order or the Empire, and there's a mashup where they have to team up with the crew of Serenity, and they have to go on the run and so on and so forth. So that would basically be my mashup. And I just seen someone just saying, "Oh my God, Firefly mashup with Mandalorian." So you see, I'm not the only one that thinks that. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
A lot of love for that in the comments. Definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you froze in a beautiful position right there, and it was fantastic. Definitely screenshot that one.
Let me ask my question. You screenshot all my freezing. I'm to be honest, I might start freezing in real life. At certain points, just like. But yeah, see how that goes.
Yeah. Check one of your questions in then, because we'll be running out of time soon. So get one in for us. Okay, so I've got one or two questions, and I'll jump to the next one, which I want to deal with, which is head hopping perspectives. So this is a video I want to do pretty soon, which is about head hopping, because again, in the book that I'm writing, I head hop like I'm on crack. And it's essentially just the fact that when I'm focusing on one character's perspective and then I switch to another character's perspective, there's even one point in it where a character is chasing a group of pheasants and you jump to the perspective of the pheasants during the chase. I like that because I'm all over the place, right? But one of the comments I've received from one of my beta readers is, you shouldn't head hop like that because it's confusing. And I'm like, how can it be confusing? It's
it's easy to follow. So I want to ask you, both of you, what are your opinions on head hopping perspectives when writing?
If I jump into this first, only because I've recently written the first draft of a horror novella, which is, the premise is, I won't go into too much detail, but there's 10 people in this story, and it's a very confined sort of space, and they go through a very, very quick journey in a few days, if that makes sense. It's very compact. So there's a lot of bouncing around from character to character in that story. Now, the one thing I had back from beta readers is there was obviously some great feedback, which I took in very well, but there was a lot of feedback that was like, I'd like to see more of this and more of this, which was brilliant for me. And that's exactly what anyone wants from a beta reader. But the only criticism I kind of got, and it is criticism, but it's not. And it was about the perspective. So there was one or two people that thought the perspective was confusing, just like you mentioned with your story. So what they wanted to see was perhaps a more clearer transition between the perspective jumps. So that's my advice, would be to look more in detail at the transition, because as writers ourselves, we already know that story in our head. We're writing it, but we know what's going to happen and who that character jumps to. But the reader doesn't often know what we're thinking. So we need to make sure, like you said, with screenwriting is kind of, this is what happens, that's what happens, that's what happens. And that's like our minds as a writer, but as a reader, that's not what they see. So we need to explain the fact that they are going from this character to that character, and the scene is transitioning as well. So that's my advice, is to make that transition a lot smoother so that the reader does understand that.
Yeah, I think on this, I'm a big fan of the chapters, in terms of utilizing chapters for what they're actually for. And if you head hop into another character, giving them a clear, defined chapter. I've seen a lot of great writers do it. And to be honest, I think it's the best possible way. Like, if you think, like Gone Girl, for example, that switches different chapters, different perspectives. Sometimes it's the same events that happen, but you get a different perception from somebody else's viewpoint, and the chapter has changed. And I think that is the clearest way to make it obvious to your reader that you've swapped over. And I don't think I think if you stick to that, your chapters, they could be a page. You could have a chapter that's a page, and then you could skip to somebody else, as long as, I think it makes it clearer to whoever's reading it. So that would be my advice.
Thank you very much. Now, I have no more questions. I'm sacrificing all my questions. It's your show. I'll answer any question you have.
Well, thank you for that. Halo just said, Great British Baking Show and Gladiator mashup. Is that what you would mix up? Because like the Bake Off and Gladiator?
Oh, that would be cool. Because when they serve it, I can dig that. Where basically it's a case where if they present like cookies, and the judges bite in the cookies, and it's like, it's nice but a little crunchy, and the person goes like this, and it has to be like a gladiatorial fight between them and everyone else. That would be fantastic. Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, that was only make the voting off.
Have to have weapons.
Yeah,
watching Paul Hollywood beat someone to death with a piece of bread would be quite entertaining, I suppose.
Yeah. Put Michaela Frey from the Vampire Slayer from the old distant future in there as a cameo, and I'm sold. What was that for? The Mandalorian Firefly thing, right?
Nice.
My novels have 3 main point of view characters, and it can be complex. Oh, complex, or complex even, as Mario said. Battle with Baguettes, yeah? The Great British Baking Show and The Purge. Why is there's a lot of baking going on at the moment? What's that about? A lot of baking.
Yeah. See, Anya's joking there, but I could actually see that being a thing. Everyone's baking at home, and I don't think The Purge is far off. No.
Halo said if they don't like the cookies, they get brutally slaughtered.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised that came from you, Halo. Chris, drop in your morbid question. Let's have a go with that, because it'd be a slightly different answer than usual, I think.
So I could ask Marcus, but I'm slightly convinced he is a vampire. I'm thinking behind him, he's got a lifetime supply of blood, and he only lasts on 4 hours sleep a day. So that must be quite accurate there.
I'm a vampire. I'm a werewolf.
There we go. I knew there was something supernatural about you, Marcus.
Thank you.
So there's a couple of corpses in that wardrobe, I'm telling you. But yeah, the morbid question is, when you look back at the end of your life and you're there, you're literally about to cross over, and you look back at your writing career, what would you be happy with? What are you satisfied with?
I would be satisfied if I were able to get out the stories, because I know that there are tons of stories in my head to get out. Did I successfully get out even one? Asked me the question. There was another show I was on where they'd asked me what legacy would I want to leave, and I was like, well, if I'm dead, I don't care what my legacy is. So it's like, what's the point? So for me, if I'm on my
there's some bad legacies.
deathbed, yeah, well, exactly, right? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm dead. I do believe in the afterlife, or I believe that there might be something in the afterlife. But at the end of the day, if I die, I don't care. But if I'm just about to cross over and I look back and I say, what have I done? As long as I've been able to get out one or two stories, great. However, my plan is to get out as many stories as possible, just get them all out. And when I cross over, like, I had like 20 more to go, but hey, at least I got 5 out. So that's good. So that's what I want.
That's achievable, right? It's a good one.
Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, amazing. So this book of yours, apologies, I've forgotten the name of it.
Atticus the Mighty.
Atticus. Sorry. Atticus the Mighty. When is that likely to be? You mentioned that your birthday was sort of coming up, and that's the sort of hopeful date. So when is that roughly?
Okay, so I have to, so again, being an idiot, right? I have 2 projects that are coming out next year.
I thought you were going to say, being a werewolf, I have 2 birthdays.
I wish I had 2 birthdays. I wish I'd get disappointed on both. No,
I actually do.
You have 2 birthdays.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because my birthday is in January the 13th, so it's coming up soon. But because it's a terrible time of year for a birthday, which everyone who has a birthday in January will agree with me, it actually has been moved 6 months later. So last year we went to a big concert and had a party in June.
So do you still celebrate your birthday? So do people still have to get you 2 gifts?
Well, no, I kind of get a few gifts in January, but then we have a barbecue or party in June. So, it's kind of, yeah.
Poland, they actually have 2 birthdays. They have their birthday, which is the day they were born, and a name day. And they actually celebrate their name day more than they do their birthday. But yeah, wow. So they do have that in Poland. No. But coming back to your question, I do have 2 books that are coming out next year. One is a graphic novel, which is called Culliver City Chronicles, Call 1-800-Killer-Guy. This project has been like 7 years in the making, right? Hit like a few years ago, and our artist left, and so we couldn't progress with it. And me doing this project, a group of artists, Sublime Studio, they're in Argentina. They are fantastic. They were like, well, give us what you got. I gave it to them, and within 3 months, they just banged out the entire thing. So the first book is it's not ready to be published, but I will publish that first one in April. So the graphic novel, which is all violence and sex and drugs and foul language and whatnot, that's coming out in April. Don't read that. Well, maybe your kids can read it. I don't care. It's fine. In fact, get your kids to read it. They should learn bad language. So that's coming out in April. But Atticus the Mighty, the one that the YouTube channel is all about, is coming out in September the 27th. I've put that date there. September 27th next year. That's when I'm going to officially publish it. So I'll have like a pre-run, again, based on the experts' advice, I'm going to do a pre-order period, which is maybe about 4 months before September. But I will be talking about it constantly on my YouTube channel to let everyone know. So just those 2, April and September.
And that channel is The Idiot on the Writer's Block. Absolutely. And we are subscribed to that channel, and you should be too. Most definitely. It's fantastic. And I love the vibe that you've got going on there, the way that you've presented that, and it's very unique, definitely unique, and it's worth checking out, because despite the impression of an idiot on the writer's block, it does give you some fantastic, I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that as in someone,
I've been called worse.
No. I think as someone who looks at that channel, they might think, okay, this is like a basic entry level tips on writing. It's not. There are level the tips in there are for every kind of writer, it doesn't matter if you've been writing for a year or 5 years. So definitely check it out. I would definitely say that. Yeah, so we'll definitely give you a knock a bit closer to that release date, and we'll maybe have a checkup and see how you're getting on.
I'll be hounding you constantly. Trust me. Now that you've given me you've made a mistake, Chris. CJ, you've made a mistake. You gave me access to Twitter and whatnot. You following me, so I'm gonna be bothering you nonstop. It'll be like I'll be commenting on all of your videos. I'm gonna be messaging you at late night. You're lucky you haven't given me your telephone number. Otherwise, there might be some late night call where it's like, "No, so CJ, what's Chris up to?" Nothing. Oh, okay, cool. Just checking, just to see how you guys are. It's fine.
His phone number is 07. No, I'm joking.
Well, do you know what? There's that could be an interesting kind of show, couldn't it? The late night Chris call with what's Chris Hooley up to between Marcus and Chris.
I saw that Grinch video. Him in some bedroom. We don't know where the kid's bedroom is. Like, well, okay.
Did you see the Halloween show when he was dressed up as it?
No, not yet. I haven't seen that one.
The fancy dress on both occasions was fantastic, and I'm not sure which one I preferred yet, but they were both brilliant. And the eyebrows, yeah, definitely. In fact, looking at that, Chris, when would be our next event? I don't know.
I mean, you've got your first birthday in January, so we could have a birthday party.
No, it will be our year's anniversary in March.
Well, we could have a birthday party before then. We could have a birthday party, and then we could have a year's anniversary. So,
and then follow
for that, you could dress up as me, and I could dress up as you.
That's
kind of what I do to differentiate that, but
it wouldn't take much.
You've got to grow the tash and then get the stubble under there. So
yeah, I had a great tash the other day, and I did a Freddie Mercury pose with it, but I took it off shortly after because I couldn't wear it out in public.
Well, if that means that you have to grow facial hair and I have to shave to do this change around, I'm not doing it because I do not like this face without a shave. So yeah, Marcus, we will continue this chat off air so we can wrap this up for the podcast. But please do go and check out that website. The Chris is lucky Mario isn't here. That is true. It's probably early for you guys in America. What time, Connor? Not Connor. Sorry, you're in Ireland. And yeah, what time is it there with you guys now? Is it like midday? Maybe earlier.
It depends on which part of America. So it's
yeah.
Are we doing the same thing? Are we inviting people to chat with us and Marcus?
You are welcome to, guys. Yeah, Marcus, are you happy with that? If they join us,
absolutely. I have blocked up most of the evening for you guys.
Eastern time. That doesn't help me, Anya. 11, 12, 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Anya, are you 12 minutes ahead of Halo?
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
You could definitely have fun with that.
12 minutes.
Especially live news.
No, it's not. Don't lie. It's 4:12 p.m. Time zones don't exist. Well, you could say
time is a figment of your imagination anyway, so it's fine. Which is the reason why I drink any time of the day.
Halo's rounding down, someone said. Yeah, so please check out our Beer Token book promotion sponsor tonight as well. That book is out on January the 4th, and we will leave links to that in the description, along with the link for the YouTube video for Marcus, of course. And please follow that journey because it's very interesting. And the guys that want to stick around, we will send you a link to the Twitter page, and you can jump in and chat with us very quickly off air. And then that's it. And hopefully have a great day. And this technically is the end of season 3, and we will start season 4 in a week or so. The 6th, I want to say.
Yeah, it's the 6th.
Yep. Yeah, so a week Wednesday, we will be back with season 4, which is incredible and crazy to think about. But,
and I think we have a great guest for the 6th, but I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. But they are great.
In a classic WCCS style, we can't remember what we're talking about, and but please see us and be there for us, and we will be there for you. As
and
always.
Idris, if you're watching this at any point, get in touch with Marcus because Atticus the Mighty.
No. Idris, if you're watching, get in contact with us because I'd love you on the show.
No, I agree with Chris Hooley. Call me first. Call me first, and then I'll put him in touch with you guys and say, yeah. So yeah, he has to talk to me, and I'll tell him that's okay. We can come on the show together. So yeah.
Either.
Marcus has worked for Idris, so we just want to chat to him.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, either or. Marcus, get in touch. Marcus is always in touch. Right,
I'll
on
get in
that
touch.
note, yeah, wicked. On that note, guys, thank you for stopping by. Of course, I hope you're enjoying your holidays and you're staying safe, of course. Enjoy the rest of your time off if you have time
Merry
off.
New Year.
Merry New Year indeed. And we will send links out very shortly. But thank you, guys, and Happy New Year. And enjoy next year. Let's hope it's a positive one. A bit more than 2020 at least. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.